on me, as the presenters have a lot of key information, insight, and guidance to provide on the various topics. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our Film Commissioner, Renee Robinson. As always, we have had the support of JAMPRO and the Film Commission, and Renee is going to be sharing some industry remarks and a general overview, particularly in light of what has been happening during this pandemic period. There are, of course, going to be more comprehensive updates as we go forward after this meeting and as the current situation develops. But Renee would like to share some introductory remarks concerning the state of the industry and otherwise. Welcome, Madam Film Commissioner. Renee?
Okay, all right. I think, are you guys hearing me now? Yes, good? Okay, cool. Thank you, Anna. Hi, everybody at JAFTA and Jamaica film industry as a whole. Thank you for letting me start off your meeting today. I'm not going to take up too much time. I know it's been a rough couple of months for everybody. And so what I really wanted to come today to talk about is just that we know, we all understand, and I wanted to share solidarity with everybody in the film industry and to share that, you know, as much as possible, we are going to try to continue doing as many programs as we can within the constraints that have emerged. So as you guys know, obviously some of the initiatives are ongoing, and I really have to big up JAFTA for continuing, and even just the meetings and the Monday sessions, the Set Life JA, those have been amazing. I've been joining in myself. I know there's also been conversations with MC Jess about the different types of initiatives that people can apply for and stuff like that, the different kinds of incentives and COVID relief. From the Film Commission side, we have been working with JAFTA and also with the Association of Film Commissioners International to generate safe back to set guidelines, back to work guidelines. So those are coming. They were sent off to the Ministry of Health today. And, you know, it was a collaborative effort to try to make sure that we are able to create some parameters to help everyone to get back to work, because we know this is how you earn your living and it's also what you love to do. So we know that we have to all get back to work, but we want to make sure that we're able to get back to work safely. So I really want to thank the reps from the industry who contributed to that document. I'm hoping to have feedback from the health ministry and the other ministries that it does need to go through within the coming days. So, you know, once our travel borders and travel restrictions are lifted, then hopefully we can have some guidelines that will help us all to be safe as we get back to work. And Anna, hopefully maybe I can come back to another meeting and we can talk through that in a little bit more detail. I know you're also going to have somebody else today speaking about safety. So I really want to encourage everyone to continue to remain, to be safe, be sanitized, keep sane. I know it's been a really difficult time. So, you know, I just want to, you know, encourage everybody to keep at it. We're going to get through this. This too shall pass, as we say. A few other updates, and I'm not going to speak too long because I want to be able to, if there are any questions, I want to be able to answer those in the few minutes before the presenter comes on. So as you guys have all seen, JAFTA Propeller is back on. So we're very happy about that. Very pleased as well to see that happening. And that is one of the initiatives we are, as you guys know, continuing our support of JAFTA Propeller. It's something that we believe in very deeply. And we've been able to commit that all of the existing programs that have already been committed to, even though we are also facing budget cuts, So we had to fight a little bit, but all of the existing programs will remain. So Film Lab program will continue as well. Obviously, JAFTA Propeller is going to continue. The BOSS program is now moving into, well, we've had a new iteration for what we're doing with the animation industry. Some of you may have seen that we were able to deliver a partnership. We're starting a partnership now with the CDB. So there's going to be some animation programs that are about to be rolled out as well. And then, of course, all of the other initiatives. Some of the things that are going to be important, simply because we are facing budget cuts, is that we are going to be seeking additional partnerships for the existing programs. So, we want to be able to help the programs that exist to identify additional, both public partnership through places like grants, for example, the CDB, Carib Export, the ITC, UKTP. So some of these other larger international donor agencies, we've been talking to them very specifically and trying to push the existing programs in front of them so that they can figure out how we can start pooling the resources to allow these programs to continue. So that's going to be an important avenue for us now as well. And then also for greater collaboration with the private sector where possible. So, and we'll continue to talk to the JAFTA executive about that and to try to make sure that we're able to milk whatever resources are available. We have one industry, we're all in it. It's a small industry, but it's small but mighty. We little but talawa, we say. So, we have to, at this point in time, we're just going to have to make sure that we are continuing to push together, to strive together and to thrive together, and to find all of the resources that we can to push forward for the industry. I know everybody was on the Bounty and Beanie, the versus battle. So obviously we know that Jamaican culture has a global demand, and now is the time for us to make sure that we're able to mobilize that demand and really tap into it. So those are just a few remarks that I wanted to share with you guys. I know I'm probably going to come back and speak at more length in maybe a month or 2 months when we have, guidelines are set and budgets are set and all of that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, I wanted to just let the industry know that, you're not alone. And I know you guys have been talking to each other. And I've had the opportunity to speak to some of you in person. Some of you have spoken to other members of my team, but we're here with you and we stand in solidarity. So I just wanted to send that message and to say thank you to JAFTA for all of the work that you guys continue to do. So I think I have a few minutes. So if there are any questions at all, I'm happy to take them. I see a message in the chat for if the film fund is still set to happen. Okay, so this is something that we are still advancing on. At the point in time before COVID, it was at its final stages of going through the rounds of cabinet for approval. Obviously, with the emergency situations that the government now has to prioritize, we're a little bit behind in terms of the list of priorities, but it is not going to fall off. We are going to continue to push for it. We're going to continue to do the work that needs to happen, and we're going to make sure that it comes back into visibility. As you can obviously right now, health, education, economy, restarting the economy, ensuring that the balance of payments is balanced. Those are the things that are important right now across the country. But one of the things that I think we can push for is to help our governments to see that something like a film fund is also a way to stimulate the economy. So that's the message that we're going to be taking now towards the film fund, to try to regain some steam once we've passed through these emergency stages. There's a suggestion, can we push for a tax incentive for the private sector to be fast-tracked as a COVID stimulus? So that's part of the structure of the film fund. So the fund itself has been, and I can speak about this much longer when we get, if we have the time. But the fund itself has been designed in such a way to have both a public and a private component. So, you know, there's definitely avenues for that to be pushed. Again, we're still in a little bit of a wait and see pattern. I'm being perfectly honest with everybody. We are in a little bit of a wait and see pattern. We do have very specific national economy priorities that the government is trying to push through right now. So, you know, we will have to see, but we do have some ideas, and I think that's a great idea to try to engage the private sector a little bit more. So that's some of the work that we're going to start doing now with the fund, is pushing it through from a legislative manner, but also trying to see what can we identify that can be a gap, what can be a quick fix, a quick stop gap to open up some flows of capital towards the creative economy. So yes, excellent suggestion. Definitely we'll see how we can start to advance that. How many writing applications did we get for the Netflix call? I haven't seen the statistics yet. What usually how I try to be transparent is that I don't stay on all through every single piece of the application process. So at least that way, you know, there might be another officer who's handling the applications, and then they get shortlisted, and then they get, you know, moved through. So I actually have not received the final shortlisting yet. I know it's being prepared and packaged. I know there was a member from JAFTA who was helping to do some of the shortlisting. So I haven't as yet seen the final listing as yet. So I'm not sure of the exact amount, but I think it was a very well supported initiative. And I think one of the things that I just want everybody to know is that if this was actually, we've been talking to Netflix, and I know Netflix has been in the mix for some time, and we've been talking to them for 2 years now to try to generate a viable opportunity. And this was literally the first time that they said, you know what, okay, yeah, we'll look at some scripts. So I think it's a good sign. We don't know yet what's going to come out of it, and it was definitely an opportunity that we do need to be able to really put the projects that are most ready and most viable. Those are the ones that we need to put in front of them in this first instance, because if they see potential with what they see, then more opportunities will open up. So, it's a little bit of a pilot, a little bit of a tester, but I'm hoping that when we do get through the final submission, that we have a very strong, and I'm positive that we'll have a very strong package to send to them that will start to get them interested to understand the potential of the region and of Jamaica. And the timeline, so we still have to finish going through the review process. And then submit to them. It's not on a specific timeline, because obviously it's going to be based on their response to what we submit. So if they respond well, then they will, send back the message to us. Or, if they're not seeing the potential, then we might have to start again and do another round of calls. So we don't have a specific timeline in mind. Any other questions?
Well, just for the benefit of those that, because I don't know, Renee, if you can just make them aware, it wasn't a full open call. It's a process that, for those of the members tuning in that aren't aware what the Netflix submission process is, just to kind of let them know that it's a gradual, right?
Yes, exactly. So we issue one open call for the year, and so that open call goes into our standard annual catalog, which is our investment ready catalog essentially, and so that call was done, and that's much more broader. The call that we asked to send out recently, we submitted it through the various industry associations. In our discussions with Netflix, they asked for very specific things based on what it is that they're looking for. So we we did send a call through the industry associations asking them to vet and submit certain either pieces of content or projects under development that met the parameters of what they were looking for. So, so that's what happened with that call. So it wasn't a general, widespread national call. It had specific parameters around it. But the goal is that we will actually have a greater opportunity to do something broader once they start seeing the potential for Jamaican talent. We also have other companies internationally, and what I'm finding is that a lot of whether it's distribution companies or sales companies, right now, a lot of them are actually reaching out to ask for, they want to see scripts, they want to see reels, they want to see screeners and trailers, and they want to see finished content and all of that, because of the global production hiatus, their pipeline has basically stopped its deal flow. So what they were expecting to fill their broadcast pipeline in a couple of months from now or a year from now, that's not going to be possible anymore. So many of these BDUs are actually saying, we just want to see finished content. It might not be something that they might normally or usually have been looking at, but now that they have this production gap, they actually are quite interested. So some of the conversations that we've been having, Netflix is only one of them. We have been having other conversations as well with other entities. Obviously, Netflix is the most prominent one, so it's the one that everybody wants to talk about. But we have been having several conversations with some other companies as well that will be able to take a look at some of these packages that we've been able to vet through the industry associations. I really do just have to preface that because these opportunities are new, we really do have, as an industry, we have an duty really to make sure that what we are presenting to them in this first instance is what is as ready as can be, as viable as can be. We really only get one shot. So, and we want to make sure that what we're presenting in this first instance is opportunities for them to see the potential, and then we can start discussing about, well, what more can we give you? What more can we show you? So I just want everybody to know that it's a little bit of a process. We do want to ensure fairness and transparency. Those of you who know me know that that's always been very important to me in my tenure, is making sure that there is a collaborative process and that there is transparency around whatever selections are done. But again, we do also need to make sure that we are working with what the global demand is asking for.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you to you and your team for your continued support of all the initiatives. As you've said, I think everybody has been coming together during this time in support of each other. And as you have pointed out, this is, although COVID has its obvious negative impact, there are still some positives coming out of this period. Persons have been more willing to share. Persons are, as you said, more open to content. So it's important that you keep creating, keep motivating yourself, because there are opportunities that will arise during this period. And you may find that as you rely more and more on virtual platforms, that there's somewhat of a leveling of the landscape and opportunities. Persons have been open to more diverse content prior to this, but as Renee mentioned, that opportunity is increasing. The interest has been increasing, and we know how long it takes to get a foot in some of these doors, Renee. As you said, it's been 2 years, this opportunity, and so we're very grateful to JAMPRO and the team for facilitating this, and we look forward to hearing the further updates. And as we're talking about distribution, I hope you'll be on for some of the meeting, hopefully.
Yeah, I'll stay, but I'm gonna come off video.
Okay, no problem. So as we talk about marketing as distribution, it's a good segue to our friend Kirk, we are familiar with as well. So Kirk, I see Kirk is on. Kirk was actually on earlier this year talking about film market access, but I'll just recap a bit. Kirk Cooper is the founder of Film Market Access, a film consulting and PR firm. Kirk's contribution to the international film community spans over 17 years with experience in the global arts and the entertainment industry. His strength lies in film programming, communications, professional development, and project management for film and television. He has created film programming for festivals such as the Durham Region International Film Festival, DRIFT, Real World Film Festival, Inside Out LGBT Film Festival, Canadian Film Festival, and the Pan-Africa Film Festival. And Kirk is currently the festival manager for Raven Banner Entertainment, a genre distributor in Canada. And above all, well, last but not least, Kirk has always been a supporter of developing the Jamaican film and TV industry. And I would like to welcome you again, Mr. Cooper.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. That's quite an introduction. Thank you. Didn't expect you to read the whole thing. Also, I noticed Renee. Hello, Renee. I caught a bit of what she was saying. And in fact, she did touch upon something very, very important, which is at the moment working for Raven Banner, we are in a bit of a crisis mode. We are looking for content daily. They're constantly pushing me to say, do you know any filmmakers out there? Are they working on anything? We need stuff in the pipeline right now. So yes, we are always looking, and I think it's a good time because COVID has caused this surge for new product, and we do need to fill the demand which we're going to have. We have seen, of course, many of us are at home watching films now, so we've seen that there's this appetite because we're not doing anything else, most of us, because maybe your industry, particularly what you work on in the industry, is being hit hard. So you're completely just, watching films. And if that's the case, then we're consuming more and more. And it's going to come a time that we have to keep putting more and more out for the demand. So yeah, we are definitely looking for things as well. And it's genre we're looking for. So action, horror, thriller, sci-fi, those kind of things. That's what we're looking for.
There's a question, Kirk.
Yes.
Before you get into your presentation, when you say you need stuff in the pipeline, does it include short films or only series and features? Or does it even include both?
We were talking about, looking at shorts that can be turned to features, shorts to feature. We were thinking of, well, they kind of put this in my lap because I do programming, that if we could work with, say, for example, a film festival like Fantasia, which is in Montreal, and does run a market as well, which they will be having an online market. And this is one of the reasons why I'm here to talk to you guys about what's happening in the online market for this year. And it would be nice if we were able to collaborate with a festival and bring in some of the shorts to features. So a short that has already been shot, but it's really a conceptualized idea for moving that to a feature. We want to see that as much as we want to see a script as well. So it's not just content that's fully feature film that's finished. So yes.
And it's very much open to local language content, in other words.
No. We have taken films from other countries with subtitles. If it's, and then again, you got to think if it's really moved fast-paced, impactful. There is, especially with action, there's a lot less talking, a lot less dialogue in action. It's mostly action. Sci-fi and horror is very similar too. So we're not afraid to take on subject matters that have subtitles in them.
Okay, great. I mean, when you were last here in January, you were telling us about various film festivals that persons could apply to, especially DRIFT. You're talking about the film market access opportunities in terms of what that program provides or that consultancy provides. And of course,
Right.
a lot has happened since then, which we've all mentioned has changed how we approach or how we will approach things going forward. I see you have your virtual background there.
Yes.
Talking about the virtual film market.
Yes.
So please, we're looking forward to you sharing with us the future of film festivals and film markets in light of COVID and beyond.
Yes, you're right. When I spoke with the room full of eager filmmakers in Jamaica and people who work in the television sector as well, we were thinking that everything was okay and, you know, everything's normal and we're going to have an amazing year. I had so many plans. Of course, I had plans as well to go to Cannes. That was one of the first markets that I would be attending. In fact, when everything hit, I was at a smaller market in Colombia at Cartagena, and it shut down, and all things went, I don't know, sad, dark that day for me to return and had to be isolated for 2 weeks. I think where we are now, for me, film market access, is that I don't see myself being able to facilitate what I typically do, which is to take the people to market. I can help prepare individuals for the online market if they need that and if it's necessary, but I have pretty much shut down going to market for this year. However, with that said, the festival circuit is still going on. Every festival, whether you're large or small, is trying to continue to have a presence online, to continue having their filmmakers having a platform in some ways or another. So that is important. The markets, on the other hand, have been disrupted in a way that they had to take that sense of urgency that you require for a market if you have a project. Say a distributor has several projects that they want to sell, or you, a filmmaker, have a project you want to get to a sales agent to get to market. All of that sort of one-on-one connection, that has been severed by having an online market. So we're not really sure how that's going to affect the industry. But we know for one thing for sure is that the industry has a set guidelines of rules. That we do this, we do that next, and we do this next. And since COVID has shut everything down, we're a bit of a scramble to figure out what's the next step? What would be the next process? If we miss this, what does it mean for the Oscar run? If we miss that, what does it mean for a film being marketed and a film getting enough attention in the cinema? So there's all these different angles that have to be sort of recognized, work through, and make sure we can continue to pumping out projects out there. There are questions. Am I supposed to look at these questions or just?
Well, I'll moderate some of the questions.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to say that one of the things with COVID is that COVID has put us in a place where we are not comfortable anymore. And for our industry, it's so important that we need to have some sort of comfort. We are producing films and entertainment for people to go out and see communally. We have to sit together. We want to enjoy that experience in the theater, and the comfort level has to be back. So for now, whether it's festival or markets, that's the thing. But the markets, as I said before, is a form of urgency, trying to get that sale done and have bidding wars for that film that is out there. And in Toronto right now, we have one of the largest film festivals, Toronto International Film Festival, which has said, yes, they're going to be going forward with the festival this September. This will be the first major festival to actually happen in some form. TIFF is unsure how it will dole out the festival this year. The last major festival we had was Berlin. After that would have been South by Southwest, and that was the first to be canceled. And as you know, Cannes was canceled. And all the way through, here in Canada, we have been opening up the economy and having people move around a little bit more. But here in Toronto, we are going till August 31st. So TIFF sort of being the first live event that would happen for us in this city. How that will be done, I am not sure, but they're hoping that will happen. So what does this mean for you guys, as if there are festivals around the world that are saying, yes, we want to have a virtual online festival, or we want to be able to do a hybrid of both? I say this is the best time for short filmmakers, because there are things such as being able to sell a feature film, holding back if you have a distributor. A lot of distributors, including us, we've been asked for certain films, and we've been very much on the fence with some, and some downright flat out, no, we're not giving that to a festival because we cannot have them exploited online. Although there is the sense of geo-blocking, which is just for that area, and only through, I don't know the high-tech ways of doing this, but through internet, you can only see it if you have an internet connection in Canada for Canada. If you're in the United States, you wouldn't be able to see it. That being said, that's great, but it still means to us that this film, even though it's for a Canadian audience, if we give a film to TIFF, the geo-blocking would mean that they can exploit it for as many Canadians as possible to watch, which brings it difficulty when sales time come around. So this is one of the problems with feature filmmakers. They don't want to be a part of that online film festival because they want to be able to sell, and they want to be able to get return on that project they've worked so hard on and spent a lot of money, put a lot of money into it. However, with a short filmmaker, this is the perfect time. This is your markets. This is, well, not the film market itself, but this is really your best time to go out there and show what you can do and get as many people to recognize your talent. So I say apply to as many as you want, because if someone is going to exploit a short film, you're rarely ever going to have a short film sold. But this would be a good time for you to get a short film into a festival. So apply to as many as you can. And when you apply, please appeal to them, to the fact that you are going through difficulty. Everyone is. COVID has challenges financially. So let us know if that's a problem too. If you cannot pay the fee, write to them, let them know. This would be a great time for you to submit your film, and there's a chance that you would get into a festival. And not just the bigger festival, I'm talking about going for the medium festivals and the smaller festivals, especially the smaller festivals, because I found with Drift right now, our submission is down. And that's really a telling of how filmmakers are feeling. One, they may not have the money. Two, they may not think the festivals are going to happen, but they are happening, and you should submit your films to festivals.
Are there any in particular, I mean, obviously that those like Drift, etc., that you'd recommend to Jamaican or Caribbean market or practitioner?
Well, I'll say this. There is a wonderful, and we use this, a platform. It's a portal that we accept all our submissions through. It's called Film Freeway. If you go online to a search, sign up with that. As a filmmaker, you can put all your information online there, and you can submit to each festival, and they'll give you an update of what festival is happening where in the world, and enough time for you to submit to that festival. So I suggest that's the one place to start. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that you might want. Or I mean, basically, that would be the best thing for me to suggest to you right now. Or you may just do a search online in internet search to see if there's other festivals and what the dates are. And also check to see if those festivals are happening. But mostly every festival wants to happen. I've been in several conversations with festival staff from different festivals about how we're going to have a festival. And for example, Drift, we're going to have our festival, but it's going to be done a little different this year. We're doing it all online except for one day. And the one day we're going to show a feature film, and we're going to do it outside. So it's all these things are new to us. I've never done that. We're going to set it up like a drive-in. And the one feature that we choose for that day will be the film we show. Other than that, all our content that has been selected from anywhere in the world will be online for people to see.
Danae wants to know if there's any consideration for dramedy shorts. Best way to share content with you. I think you said it's pretty open in terms of.
Yes, we're pretty open to everything. So just send us what you got. Yeah.
Okay, and then going back to your earlier mention when you were talking about the difficulties that festivals are facing with, well, feature filmmakers are facing or contemplating with whether to submit their features to festivals or use on online platforms. Omari wants to know, what are we selling to distributors if there are fewer avenues of distribution for feature films?
Sorry, say that again. What are we?
Well, he's querying whether we're actually saying that there are fewer avenues of distribution for feature films, or whether we're just kind of putting it on hold for now. Are there fewer avenues for distribution right now, or is it just that there's a delay in that pipeline for distribution?
There's a delay in the pipeline. I wouldn't say there's fewer avenues. Let the distributors make that decision for your film. As I said, we've gotten. All I've been doing is watching films, and I've seen some stuff that we vote upon. We have a very consensus way of doing or selecting at Raven Banner. It's never one person that makes a decision. It's actually 3 or 4 people have to agree on the film. And so I've been watching films, and we've taken a couple films that we've thrown some offer out there to the filmmaker and said, here's what we will do for you. And we've been working out those deals. After that's done, we're also preparing for the market, which I'm going to talk to next. I hope I'm not running out of time here, which is Cannes and also Fantasia Frontiers market in July. What we do next is we will put together our lineup for the market, and in that lineup, our major task is to have sales on this film around the world, whether it's really immediate or something that comes afterwards. We do need somewhere to go to do this. It's very hard to do it on your own to get everyone's attention, because what happens is that if you're not at the market and everyone else, it has project themselves, because when you go to the market, there's, like any market, there's tons of product around. You can take your time and you can shop around and you can see what the prices are for what different films, and then you can make your offer. But if we're on our own trying to do that without an actual place, which it's great to have on site, to be somewhere in Cannes or in Montreal or in Toronto to do that with other buyers and sellers. But if we're going to do it on our own, it's so much more difficult, because no one is going to give an offering or price to our film, an offer to our film. They'll wait until they see everyone else's. So we need a place to come together. And that's why this virtual market is so important, because it gives us a reason to come together and the urgency to sell right then and there. So if we don't sell your film at that market, we will get offers coming in afterwards. And the other thing about the urgency and whether the pipeline is filled or not, we will determine when we will release the film. All that is in our hands. It's not in your hands, but we will talk to you. Obviously, that is what a distributor should do. A good distribution company should be talking to you and letting you know what the marketing plan is for your film, whether it's distribution to a distributor in theaters, whether it's going to go to VOD, Netflix sale, or anything like that.
Well, then on the topic of film markets, as you mentioned, the first one coming up is Cannes in June. I see that some of the questions are surrounding that. Persons are asking in terms of whether it's worth the registration. So can you start us off, and maybe how does the virtual market operate now in this?
Okay, so I would like to say that the virtual market happening this year with Cannes, they pushed for it. It's going to happen. It has 99% support from the film community. Again, going back to the fact that we need somewhere to to have that synergy and that urgency of buying and selling. And this will happen online. It will be the first time, and we're not sure how it will turn out, but we're hoping that it will be a success. So it's set for June 22nd to the 26th. As long as you have registered for this market, you can have participation in the market. The registration fee is really, really affordable. Now think, if you had to go to a market in Cannes, it would probably cost you upwards about $4,000 to $6,000, depending on your lifestyle and where you want to stay. So this market is really only €95 just to sit at home and just track everything and have your business meetings and see films and just be a part of that community and get to network online. So I think it's a great deal, which is, I worked it out here. I think I have it as 15,200 Jamaican. I think that's a great deal. You're going to broaden your network, and you're going to get an opportunity to meet others and probably talk about projects that you're working on. So yeah.
That's the early bird special, everyone, which ends tomorrow. So
that is right. It does end tomorrow, sadly. After that, it's €195. So I would definitely try and sign up tomorrow if you want to. And here's the thing about spending 15,200, and I don't know if that's a lot of money for a Jamaican filmmaker. I know for a Canadian filmmaker, that's pretty much a drop in the bucket. But for me, I think, as I said, spending $5,000-6,000 to go to the market is a lot. But if you spend this and you've never been to a market before, this is a good way for you to just, what's that word the young people use when they're just, you can be creeping. That's the word. You can be a little bit creeping on the market. You don't have to fully engage in the market. You can just watch and see what's going on. So you have a sense of, okay, so this is virtual, and I'm not engaging one-on-one with people, but I'm seeing how everything is happening. Next time when I go to the market for real, I'll know what takes place. So this will be your lesson in learning how the market works.
All right. So in terms of, because one of the things with the film markets, when you're there in person, you have that flexibility. Sometimes you might meet someone at the cafe. You might be able to strike up that conversation and kind of pitch your work if you haven't formally arranged a meeting. So in a virtual space where, take us through it a little. In a virtual space, do you see this as being more restrictive, as in if you've never been to a film market before, if you don't have that opportunity to kind of have that, casual face-to-face, you're just basically doing cold calls, cold virtual calls or meetings.
Yes, and set up cold meetings, yes, that may happen and may not happen. Is that more, do you see that as more limiting, or you're kind of waiting to see now, and what are the possibilities, and how can we best prepare ourselves for those persons that want to explore the virtual world? I would say it's limited to individuals who have been to the market before. There is a sense of community at the market, sense of colleagues we've worked with, so we can easily take a quick meeting if we wanted to because we just ran into them, versus having to set something up online and hoping that person with the time zone and the time difference, because this is a market that reflects the whole world, will be available to you. If you're new to the market, such as many of you will be, this community is new to you, so it's really a sense of you trying your best to connect with individuals. That may be productive for you, and you might find it very useful, and I hope you do, but some people might find it frustrating because they're very much, how do I say this? So there are some people who are very much, they have that, sorry, there's a word I'm looking for. When they're very open and they don't sink down within, and they're very casual, they can talk to anybody. There's a word for that.
Charismatic.
Charismatic, thank you. And they can do that. Not everyone has that charisma to do so. So they may find the virtual market so much better, but we are in a space, in the past, we've been in a space where people can actually reach out talk to you, see someone in this same space, and you said, they would say, you know, hey, have you met so and so, and do an introduction, which is great. And from that, you can even talk about your project that you didn't expect to talk to with an individual you just met. Those things, yes, you're limited. There's also the fact that I've been a CAN on TIFF and different places, and I'd sit there waiting on someone to join me for a meeting, and I would hear a conversation that I would never hear at all, you know, and I'd be like, oh, wow, that deal's going down? What did they just say? And I'd be listening on that, and I'd be taking notes for myself. And that's okay, because we all do it at the markets. I'm sure if Renee's here still, she knows those things happen, and we tend to keep our eyes and ears open. So those are some of the aspects we are going to be losing with a virtual market. But I wanted to also mention that I read an article that CAN will be thinking about doing a hybrid on-site market with sort of pieces of the virtual market next year, because they're not sure how quickly people are going to feel comfortable from all over the world to travel. So they want to be able to ease them back into going to the market in person. So there's another opportunity next year. If you join this year or you don't join this year, you can do it next year.
Or join this year to prepare yourself also for.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to now explain to you what are some of the things you do get from the market, because we did mention that there is virtual meetings can be set up, which Zoom, I assume that's probably one of the better tools to use. And since we're on Zoom, let's promote them. And then there will be screenings, films. There's like mostly between, I would say 1,500 to, no, sorry, that may be too high. But there's a lot of screenings that go on in CAN. I would say close to maybe 1,000 screenings will probably be available, meaning that there will be repeat screenings of some films, but there'll be a lot of films. Say, for example, Raven Banner, we'll probably do 3 to 4 films we'll put into the market. And then there's like roughly 10,000 people or more will attend this market, I'm sure. So there will be everyone putting a film up to be seen. So you're going to have to just check your calendar and set a schedule for certain films you want to see. Do your research. That's the most important thing when you're going to go to the market. Do your research on all these production company, distribution company, sales agent. Do your research on all of them. Look them up online, see what they've done. The market is through a database system called Synando, so you will have 1-year subscription to this database system, which is very much like IMDb, and it will give you background information about the company and the people that are on that system. The other thing you will also experience is the CAN does have a workshop, and it's for people who have never been to the market before. They typically do this on site. Well, this won't happen on site. This time it will be virtually. So some of these workshops and topic of discussions will happen live, and some will be pre-taped, and then they will show it. The thing that you got to understand with the screening and also the workshops is that they're trying to facilitate it for everyone in the world. So there is a window of 12-12. So I don't know where they're going to start with the 12-12, but 12 hours on one side of the world and 12 hours on the other side of the world. So depending where you are, you have to be ready to join the market within your time period.
No sleep.
Yeah, and that too. But it limits you, though. You will not probably be able to see some of the films if you are on the other side of the world. When they're watching it, they won't allow if the world, let's say there's A and B, if the A's are watching it, the B's cannot watch it. Meetings can still go on, but they limit it because I assume they don't want to crash on the system. Yeah.
I have a question. Because we don't currently have a lot of ready-made feature film content, and you can also go into the balance in terms of the CAN film market and Fantasia when you discuss that as well, in terms of shorts versus features. But we have a lot of screenwriters and filmmakers that have feature films in development in terms of at the script development phase and maybe early pre-production. Are there opportunities within these virtual markets this year to pitch or put forward or have meetings that focus on projects that are in early stage of development?
For Cannes, there is no formal pitch for that market. If you come across, say, any organizations that are doing a presentation, those presentations are offered through a pitch a long time ago, and then they brought to market. So you might be seeing sort of 6 films from a different region, say South America. They presented 6 films, and these are 6 films that are in work in progress. They're not finished. They're probably proof of concept. There's a script attached to it. They're still seeking financing, still seeking some kind of sales agent or whatever the case may be. If you're lucky to be invited to those, if that is something you see that's happening at the market this time online, it's only because those pitch were set up a long time ago and they're working it through, and the final presentation is Cannes. And that would have been done on site as well. For Fantasia, which they also, why I say this is because Fantasia has this agreement with Cannes that they will bring genre projects that have been pitched throughout the year to Fantasia, or Frontiers, I should call it, because that's their market, and they did bring that to present in Cannes to look for more buyers or sales agent. For Frontiers, they consistently every year look for project, whether it's to bring to Cannes or for Frontiers itself that happens in the summer. So you can go to Frontiers and you can sign up to send your scripts in, and they can review it, or the package that you put together, and they review it. And they will suggest whether it's going to be for something for Cannes or whether it's going to be something for Frontiers. And that's basically how it's done. But Frontiers actually have a pitch during its market, and you might want to look into that. I should have actually, you know what? I will send you a link of a very creative pitch that I saw they did. The way that pitches are going to be done now is not in person, obviously. It has to be really slick on a Vimeo link, and it has to be done with the person talking and integrating all the visuals they can into the pitch. And I saw one that was really done well, which one? And Imagine Film Festival in Amsterdam. So I'll send that to you, Annalisa, and you can pass it around so people can see how the new way of pitching online will be.
Thanks, Kurt. We'll definitely circulate.
No problem.
Just going through, anybody have any questions so far? Thanks, Rob. I see you put the link to register at Marche du Film in the group chat. Yeah, no, I think everybody's just kind of learning from you as they go along in terms of how to navigate this new system, this new world that we're living in, and I think
I am as well. Yeah.
Were you still going to share? I know you were going to share a screen at one point. Was there anything else?
No, I wasn't going to share. I wish I could, because I'm not really good at using the system. I'm just looking at notes. I made some notes here, so I just want to see if there's anything I can get into mention. Premiere status, because I know a lot of people are probably concerned. Hopefully, you all are so concerned about premiere status of your film. And I will say this much: premiere status is out the window for the year. Don't think about it at all. As a programmer for a festival, I cannot give any credence to that right now. It's too difficult to figure all that stuff out. What you should do is you should ask or request for the laurels for any festivals that you've been a part of and put that out. Reason I say this is it's going to help your film move forward. In terms of, it's a short film, it's going to get more play, and it's going to get into other festivals out there. If it's a feature, it's actually going to help the feature to be sold. As a distributor, we look at that. If we haven't seen your film before it went to a festival, we want to know which festival it went to and what was the reaction at that festival. So it's always good to have that. In fact, it's so important that Cannes next week, Wednesday, the festival itself, not happening at all, will select certain number of films so they can stamp it saying that it was selected by Cannes for 2020, but never shown. And that's going to help them for sales.
We'll still have that stamp of approval that will carry weight into 2021.
That's right. That's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I want to also touch upon, what do people want to see right now? Because I think a lot of you are probably thinking, okay, I want to get back out there and want to make films, but I'm really nervous about, can I tackle hard subjects versus comedy, which does everybody want to laugh right now? Because, it's very difficult. We've lost many people around the world. Certain countries have been hit harder than others. So how will my film get reception if I'm talking about difficult subject? And here's what I say to you. Don't worry about that. Just make the best film you can make and make it entertaining. Because I know for a fact that most people, audience members out there, are very savvy. They just want to forget about their problems. And if you happen to make something, a topic or a theme about the problems they're going through, they want it done intelligently and they want it to be entertaining, so they can get something from it. So just make the best film you can. Don't worry about subject matters and as things change from the normal to the new normal. Don't worry about that. However, going forward, you really, and I'm really surprised by this, and I'm speaking to all the filmmakers out there, you really have to start looking into all these online podcasts and videos that filmmakers are talking about the difficulty that and I'm famous filmmakers, I might add, we're talking about the difficulties they're going to have once this opens up, in terms of how do you work with an actor? How do you shoot? What is your set going to look like? You got to look at these things and learn a little bit more about what the challenges are and how they may fix them. So keep in touch with those things. I find that I'm finding stuff online, and I will send it out also to Annalisa. There is a particular YouTube group or channel that offer all these, and just talking to, say, Melissa Leo, as for one. She is an actress, Academy Award winner, an actress. She says for them to not have a virus, vaccine for the virus, she feels it's criminal to kiss anyone or to be intimate with anyone. She won't do it. So these are challenges I think you guys should also look into. And I find that the number of views on these is so low. And I'm like, why are filmmakers not looking at these things? They can learn something from this. They can be ahead of the game.
I think some of them are more and more looking at, as you said, some of the online podcasts, etc. Sorry, I got distracted because as you were talking about Melissa Leo saying, talking about her hesitance to do the intimate scenes, Kevin's question was, what will sex scenes and more intimate scenes look like now in this?
Of course, Kevin. Yes.
Of course, Kevin with the hard-hitting questions. But of course, I mean, there are even some of the general guidelines that other organizations have put out in respect to filming, their recommendations that don't have intimate scenes right now, or even with commercials, you kind of see if you can use persons who are family units or persons who are normally in, close proximity to each other. Don't do crowd scenes, etc. And, even directing actors, I think some persons have already started seeing, directing persons using more Skype. Actors have always auditioned, had the ability to send, audition tapes. Or
yes, that's true, yeah.
Director or producer virtually. But I think more and more persons are seeing that this is the way that they have to now start preparing themselves, at least during this 2020 period, until what the landscape is looking at in the upcoming year. Kevin was also asking whether distributors are well, yes, the distributors are scoring YouTube for like web series shorts. So I guess it's really are distributors actively looking for content versus we have to still go and aggressively seek push our content to them.
It has to be both. You have to grow out there and aggressively push your content to them. You got to do your research to make sure they're the right distributor. Don't just go for anyone. But yes, we are. Like I started off by saying, and also Renee said it at the beginning, that yes, we're looking for content. Like I said, I'm constantly watching stuff, and I'm not always watching great stuff, but sometimes we're like debating over them and like, well, this could pass. We could sell it. I think our people who we sell to would like this film. It has some of the ingredients, but it doesn't have all of it. So I'm not saying we're lowering our standards, but some films would get a pass where it normally wouldn't have now, because we need more content. So definitely go out there and look for and push your product to a distributor that you know.
In terms of relaxation of rules, not necessarily in terms of the quality of content, but will there be any relaxation in terms of the rules for online, whether your short or feature has been shown online? Otherwise, I know the Oscars have now permitted online films shown online to be entered into their judging category for 2021. So one of the questions is, will festivals relax their films should be shown on YouTube during pandemic?
Well, I know I've relaxed around the fact that we used to just accept films that are from 1 year behind in production, end of production, within the year. Now it's gone to 2 years. We've relaxed it a little bit. So that is important. It depends on where you have your film. I'm also of the notion that I don't necessarily want to take a film that is readily available to anyone on a major platform. YouTube is not a good one. Vimeo is okay if it hasn't been seen by 1 million people. Well, if your film has been seen by 1 million people, why do you need it to be seen by our audience? Let's give it to someone who's never had that opportunity to be seen. So that is something we take into consideration. I think festivals are doing the same thing. I think they're all, looking at how much content do they have coming at them and where it's coming from. So yeah, we are thinking about it. We are relaxing the rules quite a bit, but at the same time, we don't want it to be unfair to some people or everyone. So we want to relax it in a way that we can bring in those people who have never been discovered yet. And as I said, when I was in Jamaica, one of the biggest things is we want to find that gem. We want to find that new filmmaker. We want to find that new voice, and we want to give that voice a platform to get their film out there.
And just to mention again, we sent it out to our mailing list, but everyone, Kirk and the Drift team had kindly offered a waiver code to 15 filmmakers to submit to Drift 2020. I think at the time we had sent in the email, we had mentioned the film has to be produced after 2019. Are you saying that has shifted?
That has shifted.
Okay,
January 2018 to current date. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, if you haven't taken advantage of this opportunity and if you thought you were cut out based on 2019 rule, if you have a film produced in 2018 that hasn't been on the airwaves to the millions of viewers, I think this is a good opportunity to take advantage. They're looking out for content and they want to give a platform to new and emerging voices. So,
and let us know if you have it on some platform like Vimeo or YouTube, or any other platform, please let us know that ahead of time. We just need to know. We don't necessarily want to say no. We're going to look at the content, and we're going to look at how many viewership you had or how many views you've had in terms of that content, and we will decide if we think it's someone who deserved that opportunity to be in the festival. Okay.
Thank you very much, Kirk. Encourage everyone to, again, look at the websites that for the film markets and film festivals that Kirk has mentioned. As you said, you need to do your research, be very strategic in terms of who you're targeting, whether it's to network with, whether it's to pitch your content to, whether it's which festival to submit to. So, know who you're talking to, and prepare when you're meeting with these people. Learn a little bit more about them when you have these conversations. It really impresses the other side, or I would think, Kurt, when
absolutely, if someone comes to me not ready and not prepared, it shows. And what I would say to everyone, if you need a couple pointers or you want some guideline on how to get yourself ready, I'm happy to do that once I know you have registered for the market. Please don't contact me if you have not registered for the market. So tomorrow is the early bird deadline. Get in there. I haven't yet signed up, so I'm going to do that tomorrow. But you get in there, and if you are signed up and you need some, guideline or free pointers, I'm happy to pass that on and help you out with it. Okay.
And then remind us about the deadline for Drift.
The deadline for Drift is July 15th. So you have lots of time for that. Yeah.
Okay. And
again, we're on Film Freeway. Just look us up, and we're there. So it's Durham Region International Film Festival. We just use the short form Drift. And catch the drift. And we happen to be October 1st to the 3rd. So yeah, the festival's later in the year. Hopefully things may change, but I think it's about comfort in the time of COVID. I don't know if people are going to feel that comfortable to go back into the cinema until next year.
I don't think it's likely, but we'll see.
Well, in terms of film in the cinema, we will go back. I mean, to be honest, I will go to TIFF if TIFF happens. But if TIFF is not going to happen, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to a regular cinema. Not right now. That's just me. But I will go to TIFF because the content they're providing, it's superior to what I'm going to see. And it's more in line to what I want to see on the screens versus the Marvel Universe stuff. I can wait for that. I'll watch it at home. At least for now.
In the interim, persons can do the drive-in as you're going to have a Drift, and some
That's
other
right.
persons.
I prefer the outdoor because, as you probably learned today, is that they say that the virus is more spread quicker indoors than it is outdoor. And this whole 6 feet thing that they were talking about, and 2 meters, they actually think you need to be further apart. So they're thinking when you're outside, you can be as far as you want to be. Inside, it's hard to have a number of people around and be distanced from them. So that's why I'm not really big at going back to the cinema just yet until the numbers are down, or a vaccine. Yeah.
Fingers crossed, and we look forward to experiencing a cinematic experience soon.
Yes.
Kirk, thank you as always. You've been really supportive of the local industry. You're doing great work outside of Jamaica and your various platforms. Persons can contact you at Film Market Access. They're on IG. The website, filmmarketaccess.com.
Yeah,
Correct?
anyhow you want to, you can reach out.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Kirk.
Thank you. And
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I look forward to seeing some of those films in Jamaica.
Send them, guys. He's waiting for them. Take advantage. All right, Kirk, I hope you'll stay with us. We're actually, as you're talking about the distance guidelines, we have Anna K. Jeffrey coming up. She's going to be talking about health practices on set. She's in the medical field, so we're looking forward to getting some tips and guidelines on safety and health during this pandemic. So please stay. We'd love to have you on board. And you can also learn about one of the short film projects. Two of our filmmakers, Joshua Paul and Steve Thomas, are going to talk about a film they pitched at Euro Connection earlier this year. So you can hang around for that as well. So stay tuned. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Jeffrey. I see that you're on. Where are you? Oh, there you are, Anna Kay. Hi. I think you need to, okay, there you are. You're unmuted.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time. I am just gonna read your impressive bio and then let you take the floor, so to speak. Anna Kay Jeffrey is a graduate from the University of the West Indies School of Nursing. She holds a BSN and is currently completing her master's program for nursing. She has been a registered nurse for 12 years and is licensed to practice in Jamaica and internationally. She has been a SET medic since 2010 with certification and experience in traumas and emergencies and a passion for pediatrics and public health. Anna Kay owns and operates the Jamaican-based Angel Wings Home Care and Nursing Service and currently sits on the New York research team in Albany for COVID-19. Anna Kay is a 3-time cancer survivor and believes that the mind is the most powerful tool that God gave us and guides our existence. So everyone, let's welcome Anna Kay Jeffrey. It's a pleasure to introduce you and to have you on board. They're all silently clapping in the background. They're all on mute, so they can't, but we're happy to have you today. And we're looking forward to hearing you speak about health practices on set, especially in light of COVID-19. But I mean, when I was reading the bio, I was thinking, a 3-time cancer survivor, that is amazing, Anna Kay. I'm so happy that you were able to beat it, and we still have you here. So I don't know. I was blown
Thank you.
away by that.
It hasn't been an easy journey, but it's workable. With love and support, it can happen.
And love and support is what we need during this period as well. As you know, a lot of our practitioners have experienced some setbacks due to sets productions kind of being limited and delayed, etc. So we want to get your feedback or your tips on health practices in general, and as well with a focus on obviously COVID-19 and how we can all safely balance safe practices and public health with being productive in our respective fields.
Definitely. All right, Anna, thank you very much again. Thanks everyone for having me. All right, so first to begin with, COVID-19 came and just gave us a shock right across the world, right? Unfortunately, it created a panic that most healthcare personnel would not have wanted to have happen, but we have no control over that, and it has happened, so we have to now adjust and live accordingly. COVID is just like the flu. Just like the flu in the sense that it attacks the respiratory system. However, it's a little bit more complex and complicated because once you have been infected with the virus, there's a high chance that it can deteriorate your lung function. And that's what makes it so scary. And that's how we have been losing so many different people. And it's not limited to just, as people are saying, oh, blacks can't catch it, or if you're of a certain ethnic group, then you won't be able to catch it. That's not true. Once you are susceptible, if you fall in the vulnerable group, babies, children, elderly, if you've had some comorbid issues going on, like hypertension, diabetes, cancer, anything that has been there as an illness before puts you at a risk of facing the potential of death. The most important thing in this time, as we mentioned before, is love and support. We definitely need that. So even though we can't see each other in person or share in person, we still need to protect the mental health, which is what is going to help us to even fight the virus in itself. Because once your mind stays healthy, your body adjusts to how your mental state is, and it adapts accordingly. In relations to just the general practices, you definitely need to be practicing hand hygiene. You can't overemphasize hand hygiene. Wash hands, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands. We can't stop saying wash hands. If you're not where there's soap and water, please ensure that you have alcohol-based hand sanitizers. And this is just general rule of practice for everyone. Gloves are a complete no-no where everybody is wearing gloves out in the public. We're really just transmitting the virus faster than we could stop it. If you're in a location like the healthcare workers who have to deal with, patient to patient, then they're required to wear gloves because then we don't want to be transmitting the virus from one person to the other. But when you're in the public, like I'm seeing, people are wearing gloves. They're in the supermarkets. When they begin to touch these different surfaces, they're transforming, they are transporting, that's the word, transporting the virus from one place to the other and putting other people's life at risk without even realizing. The key is hand sanitizer, wash your hands, wear your mask. Now, I brought different types of masks to show everyone, and they all have different purposes. This one you'll see oftentimes in the hospital, used by healthcare workers, along with this one, which is the N95. This is just a regular surgical mask. This is the N95. The N95 protects you greater from the risk of contracting the virus because the virus spores cannot go through the N95 mask. However, the cloth mask that we've been wearing around, which is very common, which the government has been asking everyone to at least wear while you're in public, is only to protect people from you. So it doesn't protect you, the person who is wearing it, because the virus can still go through the mask. However, if there's a possibility that you may have the virus and don't know because you could have the virus and not show any symptoms, this is protecting the persons that you are coming in contact with, not protecting you. To protect yourself, you definitely need an N95 or at best a surgical mask. Due to the shortage, as you know, from the whole pandemic and this whole scare, and we didn't know this was going to happen, we have been asking the public not to use these masks if at best possible. As it relates to set, I would recommend surgical or N95, definitely for set. Do not allow the cloth mask on sets. This is not going to help anyone. If somebody comes on set who may have the virus but is not showing any symptoms, that person who's wearing a cloth mask is going to be infecting the other members of your crew. Any questions so far?
I think they're listening very intently. Even the cloth mask there, I think persons were thinking if everybody is wearing a cloth mask, that would be a viable thing, especially for smaller productions. But you're saying it doesn't really assist.
It doesn't really, it's, as I said, it's just to protect the persons you are coming in contact with, but it doesn't protect you, the individual. All right. In relations to wearing the mask, one practice that's been happening, people have been wearing the cloth mask every day. Some people are not even washing them. You're not doing yourself any justice. These masks, when you wear them, must be washed every single day in hot water, put in sun to dry. If you don't have sun, then try and use at least a heater. If, let's say, it was dried maybe behind the fridge or something else, use an iron to run over it to help to destroy any virus that may be lingering. All right. As for the N95 and the surgical mask, the surgical mask is not meant to be worn for a whole day without changing. This is not best practice. So with a surgical mask, when you have it over your nose, think about you breathing. Moisture is going out. Moisture is going in from the oxygen that we're getting in from the atmosphere, right? After a while, this mask is going to become so damp that it loses its power. The N95 is layered. I don't think you can see it from my video, but it's layered in such a way that it's like a 3-layer mask. So there's a filter layer on the inside, then there is another layer in between, and then there's outer layer, which is like a hard material. What happens is when you breathe in, the moisture that would destroy this mask doesn't destroy this mask as fast. So you could actually wear this mask for the whole day. Right now in New York, unfortunately, because of the shortage, CDC has allowed us to wear this mask for an entire week, as long as it's not soiled and it remains in a paper bag at the end of each shift. I'm kind of germophobic, so I cannot manage to do this for a whole week, but people have been doing it, and successfully, we've not had anybody complaining of contracting the virus, right? Another thing to bear in mind while you're on set, and this is for our producers and the directors, persons wearing any form of mask, whether it's this one, the surgical or the cloth mask, at some point, they're gonna need a break, because you're gonna feel like you can't breathe, you're stifling, because there's gonna be a build-up of carbon dioxide. So it's almost like you're gonna pass out, and at some point you need to factor in into time. So let's say shooting a scene probably would take you at best 5-10 minutes to do one shot. You're gonna need to factor in additional time, because then people are gonna become uncomfortable. So you're gonna need to do frequent breaks in between, and that's a bad example in terms of time, because I don't know how long you do your shots for. But just bear in mind that they'll need breaks from time to time to breathe outside of the mask, just to release some of the carbon dioxide that's building up inside. All right. Set size.
Sorry, before you move on to that, just in terms of the mask, so given the shortage of N95s, if especially smaller productions can't access them, and you said the next best thing is surgical masks, and persons also want to know, is if you're using a filter with the cloth mask, does that help? Can the cloth mask be used if there's a filter, and what kind of filter? So I know some persons use coffee filters and other, makeshift as well, in addition to...
All right, the makeshift filters are not gonna work. What I can do for you, and that's a really good question, is I'll get the approved filter for you, because there are different ones that are out there. I'll get the approved one for you and send it to you, so you can at least relate to the other groups and the other members of your team, so they can use the approved filter. But there are filters there that you can actually use with the cloth mask that will work. For a small set size of maybe 10 and less, you could get away with using a cloth mask. And I say get away because it's a small group. You'll be able to practice social distancing better. One of the things you want to think about is investing in a non-contact thermometer that can give you a false read because you're in Jamaica. So you have to think about the external temperature as well. You guys are in summer now, right? Summer basically. So now the sun is hot, the sun is out. For people, there are persons who once the sun, they are in direct contact with the sun, their body automatically gets warm. And so that thermometer can give you a false read to say the person has a temperature when they really don't. So you have to factor that in as well. So I would say add an additional 1 or 2 degrees to the reading that you've gained, and then make a decision from that. You'll need to definitely have a medical personnel on board. And let's say for a small set, you might not need to have a nurse, but you need to have someone who is equipped with just general knowledge in terms of the health practices and the guidelines from CDC or local Ministry of Health, because I know they're putting things in place as well. From my investigations and talking with Minister Tufton, there are things that are putting in place for the general public. So they need to be up to date, because the information is changing every week, literally, based on what's coming in. So when COVID just came, we knew nothing about COVID. We didn't know how it was transmitted. We're still not even sure 100% how it is really transmitted. Right now, CDC is saying it's through droplets, and that comes in contact with your mucous membranes from your mouth, your nose, and your eyes. So while you're out in the public, while you're on set, stay away from your eyes, your nose, and your mouth as best as you possibly can. It's going to be hard because it's in that moment, the sun, you're scratching, you're sweating, all these things, you're trying to relieve all these little symptoms, but try to keep your hand away from your face, because again, the virus can live on surfaces for an extended period of time, up to 72 hours in some cases. And so you don't know who may have come in contact with these equipment or whatever gadgets you have to use on set, even the food boxes or all those little things that you have to use, the snacks you're buying. You don't know the transportation, the journey of these different packages, and so the virus might be on it. You just pick it up, you think everything is okay, your hand is in your face, and bloops, 2-3 days down the road, you start having symptoms. So you have to be mindful of these things. Try and sanitize as much as you can. Get the Clorox wipes if you're able to get them. I know they're short. The last time I checked, I heard there was a shortage on the island, but still try to get even the alcohol 70% and greater. You can have that. You can use that to wipe down stuff. That will help. You might not be able to get Lysol or the Clorox wipes, but you can use anything with alcohol in there. That will help.
I didn't mention the percentage because I've been seeing ranges from 62% to 70. So I'm glad that you're recommending 70 and over.
70 and over. Anything below 70, don't be a good fan of it. If you really can't do any better, then you just have to do what you have to do. But look for 70 and over. And there are medical distribution places in Jamaica that have these alcohol-based stuff that you can use with 70 and over, that you can get. Just get those directly for set. I mean, for your everyday use, you can buy the regular hand sanitizer that can have up to 62% and over, but definitely for set, because of the fact that you're putting other people's life at risk, you need to now use what is actually best for the crew and not necessarily what is just available.
Person was asking about face shields.
Face shields. I wasn't sure if you would want to use the face shields because they are a little bit pricey, I guess, depending on where you're getting them from. But yes, face shield is a definite. If you can get that, it's a good preventative practice, PPE to use. Again, it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. So now we have to think. Remember, we're in Jamaica. You're on the outside most of the time shooting. We have to look at what is best for the individual to work. So if you're going to have on a face shield, you're going to have on a face mask, you have to think about the heat that you're generating and how it's going to hinder your ability to cope and to work. So we're looking at easy ways. So if you can get goggles, it doesn't have to be the medical certified goggles. It can be regular goggles. The
goggles?
Yes. So basically what the face shield is for is not just to cover your face. That's not the aim. The aim is really to protect your eyes. And if you were like for healthcare workers who work in an environment where things can splash in our faces, then the face shield works out better for us. But in terms of film, It doesn't have to be a face shield. You could get a goggles that will work. So if you're able to purchase goggles, which might be a better choice than using the face shield, because the face shield, I'm telling you, I don't have one right now, but it's not comfortable and it attracts heat. It's like a plastic outer layer, so it's gonna attract heat and it's not gonna be comfortable for crew members to wear.
This is a new one, Anaki. Sorry, and I won't keep you.
No, that's fine. I wanted to ask questions because my notes, because I've been talking so freelancing with you, I'm not sure what I've spoken on.
That's fine. This is a new one. Mezan said there's a makeshift filter, paper towel soaked in salt water overnight. Are you familiar with this?
Makeshift. Let's go again.
A makeshift filter.
Mm-hmm.
Paper towel soaked in salt water overnight. Should we be saying yay or nay?
Definitely a nay.
Nay, okay.
That soaking overnight business, no. No. So one of the things you want to run away from, moisture. You definitely want to run away from moisture. Virus likes moisture, likes darkness, and it likes not too hot, not too cold, so lukewarm. And that is why if we're trying to destroy the virus, a very cold environment will help freeze, or a very, very hot environment will help, because then it destroys the outer layer of the bacteria, so it's inactive, or the virus, so it becomes inactive. So you don't want to be soaking anything overnight and be using that as a filter. No.
Even if it dries the next day? All
right, let's
coffee filter in hot water and salt. The filters dry overnight, not soaking overnight. I don't know.
So let's look at it this way.
Yes.
Think about you soaking just think about a regular kitchen filter that we use. You soak that overnight, you use it tomorrow because it's dry, you use it tomorrow. Just think back when you're in the kitchen, the filter breaks down after a while. So how good is that gonna be? 6 of one, half dozen of the other. What you don't want to be doing is putting yourself at risk. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where, because you're trying to not only be innovative, but try probably to find a cheaper way out, you end up putting yourself at risk and costing your life. One of the things we need to understand about this virus is that it doesn't tell me or you how it's going to treat us when we get it. So for example, I may get the virus, God forbid. I have cancer, I have a comorbid issue. And because of my practices, I might not end up feeling it as hard as someone else who technically may seem healthy, gets the virus, and then end up with respiratory issues and end up in respiratory failure and end up dying on us. You see what I mean? And that's dependent on practice. So this person might not have the proper gears, might not be properly hand sanitizing, stuff like that. And so they end up not doing good practices or best practices and end up with the worst case scenario of the virus versus someone else who might be in a vulnerable state but still do best practice. Does that help?
I think it's clear. I mean, there still seems to be some debate in the chat about, you soak it, but you dry it overnight, and what it breaks up the virus.
That's a personal choice and a personal risk that person will want to take. I don't want to come and give you the makeshift stuff. I want to tell you, based on sitting on the research board, it's been hard for us because we're learning about this virus every day. I'm in New York, as you know, is the epicenter of all of this. And we've seen, I've never in all my years of nursing seen so many people die in front of me. You know what I mean? And this is not by virtue of them being careless or anything. It's just how their bodies have adapted to this virus, or how the virus adapts to their body and changes their lung function. And that's the thing we need to take away from it. It's not so much that it's a killer, or it's the same thing like flu. Flu does the same thing every single year, kills thousands of people. If we check CDC website and all these places, you will see it kills thousands of people just the same way corona does. It's just that now with corona, once you get it, within that incubation period of 2 to 14 days, if you remain asymptomatic, you could be there with this virus and it's there eating away from your lungs, versus a flu that doesn't eat away from your lungs. The flu does probably develops eventually into pneumonia or something more advanced in terms of a respiratory issue, versus the corona is just there silently eating away at your lungs and you don't know until it's too late. So you want to move away from anything that's going to potentially put you at risk for being on the bad end of the bargain. And that's what I'm trying to portray.
Thank you for bluntly putting it like that, because I think a lot of us, I mean, we know the majority of cases are asymptomatic, but I think we also think that we're asymptomatic, we're not suffering any negative effects. But you're saying silently there is still something that the virus is doing to damage our bodies, even though we're not experiencing any overt symptoms.
Yes, definitely. And this is from an actual study. So we did an actual study. It doesn't apply to everybody, as you know. People who are asymptomatic means, for those who don't know, you don't have any symptoms. But then, as I said, the virus might be there silently doing what it's doing, and you don't know until one day you just wake up, end up having excruciating chest pains. By the time you get to the ER, you find out that your lungs is in a compromised situation. You end up have to be intubated without even having a thought about what's going to happen after that. There's no, oh, I'm going to come back, or yes, I'm going to die. There's no way to tell you that. But at the same time, you could be asymptomatic and still really not, the virus not doing anything to your body at all. All right. Just to run over some things quickly, as I said before, just try and keep up with Ministry of Health. Try and keep abreast with what they're putting out. I know sometimes the information might be monotonous, but again, as I said, research is being done. This is a new virus in the sense of the way it has, because it's been around, it's just the way it has now duplicated in terms of the strains that are there. So we're still learning about this virus. There's no vaccine, and the one that is being developed, they are seeking guinea pigs right now to see how effective it is. But at the moment, there's no vaccine. Please remind your crew members, I know it's hard, I know it's a very trying time now financially for everyone. If at all you feel ill and you're called for a job, even though you might think it's just a flu or a little sniffle from just allergies, from seasonal allergies, please stay home. You may have COVID and not know that you have it. Do not put other people's life at risk. I know it's hard financially, but be honest with yourself, be honest with production, let them know I'm not feeling well. If it's something where you can actually work from home from your department, then up to do that. All right, try and use a skeletal crew right now to do whatever you're doing. You know, don't have unnecessary people, you know, people who, you know, how we used to have 10 PAs doing Dick, Tom, Jane, and John. Try and have like one PA or two explain what needs to be done and just to extend additional time to get the task done, because it's not one person. As I said, if you're ill, stay home and try and get that thermometer that can at least test people before they start working. This is where you need to educate a PA. If you're using a small crew, you don't necessarily need to have a nurse, but at least have a PA who is equipped with the knowledge to understand how to do temperatures and what it means if they have an elevated reading, and what protocols are in place by your production team for that job if the temperature is out of range. Another thing is gloves. I know because you're using a lot of different equipment, people will need to share things from department to department. For crew, you will have to use gloves, definitely. Gloves in public, no. But in crew, in production, gloves, yes. Camera crew, makeup, wardrobe, all these different departments need to be wearing gloves, and they must change their gloves on a regular basis. So I'm not saying to move a table to the other side of the room and then you're going to change your gloves. No. You're prepping for a scene, use that one pair of gloves, prep for your scene. As soon as you're done, change your gloves, wash your hands. Sounds workable?
So you're saying after each scene, gloves should
As
be.
often as you can change that
I
gloves.
see.
As often as you. So for art, so for makeup, of course, sensitive departments, makeup, wardrobe. What's the other one that does the dressing of the scenes? What's the department? I got it.
Art
Art,
department.
that's right. Art department. That department, those people will need to change their gloves on a regular basis. Regular basis. I see a question about what type of gloves should be worn. Regular gloves, you don't need to wear the sterilized gloves. Regular gloves is fine. There are workmen I know, like those who work in that does grip and move the equipment, camera equipment and stuff. If you have a camera or a workman glove, that's fine. You can wear a workman glove. You don't need to change your workman glove. That's fine, because then that glove is your actual work glove. But for someone else who is moving things like from location to location and it's being mixed and mingled with other departments, and you definitely need to be wearing a regular gloves and changing your gloves as often as you can, as often as production will allow you to, because that's going to be costly as well.
What if you wash your gloves regularly? Do you still have?
Heavens no. Nope. I'm not even going to entertain that thought. There's no way you can wash gloves.
I have to ask.
No. Another thing is, with hand washing, is not about just putting your hand under that pipe with some soap and doing this. Please, minimum 15 seconds minimum. The required time is 25 seconds. Please, minimum, because there are some people who will want to do wash and go, but from our research, they're saying that minimum 15 seconds. The ideal time is 25 seconds. Wash your hands and go. And washing your hands means getting in between here and doing your nails. Here, thumbs. That's how you wash your hands. Please, this virus is dangerous, and I'm telling you, until you've seen what it really does. Jamaica is really blessed right now. You guys have not seen anything, but I'm telling you, it's very dangerous. So please, wash those hands. Get into the grooves.
Wash the hands, but not the gloves.
Wash the hands and not the gloves. Get rid of those gloves. Right. Social distancing. 3 feet minimum, 6 feet. You want to at least, I know it's gonna be hard because of what you're doing on set and having people when you're doing the actual shoot. 3 feet minimum, 6 feet at best if you can. Use your arm to measure. Use 2 arm lengths, and you're in a safe zone. All right. So practice as much social distancing as you can. One of the things I would really recommend though for crew is if you could have your crew members tested for COVID before any job. So let's say you have a job in a week or 2 from now. If you could get Ministry of Health to come on board to help you with testing kits, to get them tested a few days before the job, not a week before the job, because if you do it a week before the job, there's a high chance they could contract the virus shortly after. So you want to do it at least 72 hours before a shoot, so you know that everybody's negative or close to negative, so that they can at least work in a safe enough environment. If that's not possible, as I said, your mask is going to be your best friend. For intimate scenes, I saw there was a question before when
Kirk was talking, yes.
Right, when he was talking. There's nothing wrong with doing intimate scenes. However, in order to do the intimate scenes, as I said, you have to do a COVID test. Both persons will need to have 2 negative COVID tests before they could proceed into doing that part of the script. And once you've gotten the second COVID test to say it's negative, then they both need to be isolated, which means that 3 days prior to the shoot, they should get the second COVID test, and then they would be isolated from the general public because they're going to be doing this intimate scene. And for safety of both persons, you need them not to be mixing and mingling, because either of them could actually contract the virus and pass it on to the other person. Otherwise, we could use family members if that's possible. keep it within the household, because then these are people that they're meet and greeting with every day, housing with every day. So if you have to do intimate scenes and it's appropriate to choose a household or a family, then I would say go for that if it's possible. Otherwise, COVID test is going to be your best friend for your talent.
So what in terms of the current limitations with access to testing, should there be some kind of self-isolation period like has been included before, especially for larger productions when you don't have access to sets?
Larger productions for sure. Again, you would know what you're doing way in advance, maybe months or weeks in advance, and you would have chosen you've done your casting and stuff. I would say you need to at least have these people isolated 14 days minimum. If you can have them isolated for longer outside of the general public, then that's a chance that you could take. But in terms of intimate scenes, I would say to you, do not take, that could be a lawsuit for you. Do not take on that responsibility of saying to them, oh, just isolate for 14 days or 21 days. And then once we know you don't show any symptoms, then we could go ahead with the scene. No, they need to provide you with 2 negative COVID tests. Harvard, make sure they're signing this document to say that they understand what they're getting themselves into and that they are willing to provide you with these tests. Otherwise, you are not going to proceed with doing this intimate scene. Anything else, you could do the isolation, as long as it's not intimate where kissing or any exchange of body fluids might be possible, then that's fine with isolation. In terms of larger groups, I know when you have talent coming on set, try not to have people come before their time. So you're gonna have to use time to space out when people are gonna come to do their part. If you're gonna have people in background, I'm hoping that you're gonna try and not do stuff that requires crowds, because we want to stay away from crowds. The virus loves crowds. But if you have to, again, don't have them sitting under a tent waiting to do their part. Bring them in at least 10-15 minutes before the time that you need to shoot. Get them ready, social distancing under that tent, get them ready, shoot, and then dismiss as many persons as you can as it relates to talent or any additional person that you have to use. That minimizes the crowd. Meals, I don't think I need to touch on that because set has always been in the habit of doing single meals for the most part. Occasionally you might have caterers, but for right now, caterers are a no-no. If in event it gets down to a budget issue and you end up using a caterer, then you cannot have people self-serving. It would have to be servers, and then again, social distance would have to be maintained in these tent areas. So you'd have to have appropriate marking, and I think that would be locations. I think they would have to ensure they put the proper signage in place to ensure that there's correct social distancing in terms of where there needs to be a line. And then your greatest asset will be your sanitation crew. Whoever your sanitation crew is needs extensive briefing on sanitation goals and the appropriate products that needs to be used in terms of the loo, your hand sanitization stations. I would suggest if you could get a hand sanitizer for each department, each person. If you can get the small personal ones, that would be great for set. If you can't, then I would say have several bottles in places that people can use to sanitize as often as they can. Most of it I covered. Set medic, when you have a larger group, I would say 10 and more people, you need to definitely have a medic on board. And with COVID, one of the things I'd said before is that if you have a health issue before, it puts you at a greater risk. And this is something I've always been rooting for since I've been on set, is that not just have your set medic show up the day of shoot, have your medic involved. Let them know who is on crew, who your talents are. We need to know if these people have high blood pressure, diabetes, any other underlying issue, right? Before, it wasn't an issue. Now with COVID, it becomes an issue, because if these people have underlying issues and anything happens on set and we need to render any form of emergency, I don't know when that person falls down or goes unresponsive. I don't know if they have high blood pressure, or maybe, they have diabetes and it could be a low blood sugar, they fainted. Maybe it's not a low blood sugar, but it could be from the mass, they faint. You understand what I'm saying? So it's good to have your medic involved, and at least we don't need to be in your business. I'm not saying that we need to know, oh, yes, you have this, that. No. Whatever information is shared with the medic is confidential, is protected by HIPAA. And so we need to ensure that the medics are at least basic informed about the crew members and talent at best, so we know how to act in appropriately when the time arises.
What would be the basic qualification for an approved medic? In other words, can persons, if they know someone studying in med school, is that a medic? Or do you need someone who is a certified nurse, or is at least a certified doctor? Or, what?
All right, look at this way. Look at it this way. Your best friends as set medics are your first responders, which are your EMTs. Those people make awesome set medics because they are trained to respond in emergency situations. You understand what I mean? Set is not a hospital or a clinic that's gonna look after high blood pressure and diabetes. No, set is for the medic is there for emergency cases only. So you need to have someone who's a certified EMT minimum. You need a certified.
That's a medical technology. For those not familiar with the term.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, let's use layman term. Ambulance workers.
Okay.
Ambulance worker, right? Those are your best friends. Registered nurse. If you have a licensed practical nurse, you can use a licensed practical nurse as long as she has the direction of a doctor or a registered nurse on call. As long as they have the necessary training, so they must have some form of emergency certification or training. And one of the certificates you want to look for is advanced cardiac life support, basic life support, or trauma certificates or emergency certifications. Anything in that 4 categories is good to go. We're not talking about regular first aid certificates. No. A regular first aid certificate is not going to help you to deal with certain issues that happen on set. And again, we're not pushing anybody aside. If you've had a set medic with you for years that's been doing an awesome job, don't push that person aside. All you need to do is have a support person for them. For example, let's say you've had a medic with you who's not anywhere certified in any of the 4 categories I just mentioned, but you know the person has been competent. What you need to do is now get them attached to either a registered nurse or a medical doctor who is willing to be on call in event there's an emergency, because this is somebody who's been around you for the longest time, who understands how your set runs, who understands the general protocols of set, right? And so they're able to still function. It's just now, for legal reasons, you need to at least ensure that they have the legal support they need to have from a higher person in the medical field, which is a registered nurse or a medical doctor. Ambulance worker cannot give instructions to a regular person or to a regular nurse, but the ambulance worker can take instructions from the registered nurse and the doctor. So those are your 2 highest level of medical personnel that you need to have involved in set whenever possible. What else did I need to tell you? I think I did the basic stuff, unless there's questions that people may need me to answer.
Well, some of the questions had to do with transportation. So your drivers, do you have to be as stringent now in terms of sanitizing the transportation vehicles, making sure the drivers themselves
Drivers will now need to use, no, will need to wind their windows down. No AC right now. Even production office, no AC. And in terms of production office, if you can steer away from having an actual production office per se and have people work remotely, then you're in a better place than an office. No AC, I'm sorry, definitely no AC. What the AC does is houses the virus and spreads it to other members. And again, please remember, looking on someone doesn't tell you that they're healthy or they're not healthy. So we have to be mindful of each other's life. And by doing so, we act responsibly by doing the right things. Washing your hands, wearing your mask, sticking to the guidelines that are in the protocol that are produced by production. And production will need to put things in place and have crew members sign to say they agree with these protocols. So you have a PA who goes around to help remind, we're not putting any big stick over anybody, we're all adults. There's a style that I see in Jamaica right now, every time I watch the news, is people have the mask this way. This is not how a mask is worn. Your mask must be over your nose, and you make sure to crimp the top so it stays secure over your nose. So you pinch the top of it so it stays secure over your nose. And for people who are small ears like me, you could twist the elastic and put it over your ears, right? But as I said, don't take off the mask to talk. Speak louder in the mask so they can hear you. Be responsible. We are responsible for each other. We're responsible for ourselves. So we need to do the right thing, and that is keeping your mouth and your nose covered. The drivers also will need to be equipped with the appropriate cleaning solutions, so that each trip they need to be wiping down the common areas like the door handles, the seats. Preferably, if you could use vehicles that don't have the fabric seat, would be best. But again, we can't change people's car last minute. You understand what I'm saying? If they could get car covers, and you don't need to go outside and buy a car cover, get plastic bags. You could get a nice those clear garbage bags. Be innovative, be creative. We're creative people in Jamaica. And cover your seats if they're cloth made. So, and it's just for production. It's not like you're gonna be driving around like this all the time, but it's just for production. And change these covers as often as you can if you're using the plastic bags. Let us say you have the covers that can wipe down, that's the leather kind of covers. Then you're gonna wipe them down each time someone exits or comes. Each time they exit the vehicle, you're gonna wipe down. So you wipe down the handles, you're wiping down the windows, the area that they're going to rest their hands. Again, remember, you cannot see this virus. People are touching, picking their nose, doing stuff. Unfortunate, some of us are just nasty, and that's just what it is. We still have to think outside of the box, think ahead of how people will do things, and clean as best as we can. Changing your clothes. I know sometimes on production, if we have a 2 or 3 day shoot, we might end up wearing the same jeans bottom and changing the tops. I would say this time right now, just change your clothes every day. It's hard, but the reality is the virus stays on surfaces, including your clothing. Those of us who have long hair, wrap your hair up, keep your hair up in a bun as best as you can, or wear a hair wrap, and that's to protect your hair from taking the virus home with you. When you lie down on that pillow, that virus is dropping off on your pillow and it's gone to your nose, and then you're wondering, how did you get it? You have on your mask and all these things. It's just those are the things that we don't think about. All right. I don't know if there are any other questions, but I think I covered.
Someone's asking. No, I think you've covered some of the core practices. I'm also putting in the chat a link to a resource page on our website, which has some of the set guidelines that have been put in place by by other countries,
Right.
which incorporates some of what you said and have also gone into further details. So have a look at that. We'll also recirculate it to the membership and our mailing list. As Renee mentioned earlier, the Film Commission consulted with JAFTA and other stakeholders and are putting together some guidelines. But until then, have a look at the resource page, take note of what Anna Kay has said. As she said, this virus is very deadly. Don't take it for granted. These practices are not in place to frustrate us. They're put in place to protect us. So we want to be creative, but also don't cut corners unnecessarily. And let's try and strike a safe balance so that we can continue our practice and continue to earn as well as protect ourselves until a vaccine can be found. And that's looking more
Possible, right? It's getting there. The last meeting we had, today's Thursday, on Monday, they're still working on it. What happened is that we're not getting willing people to do the trial part of it, and that's the problem. Nobody wants to be the guinea pig. Yes, it has gone through the animal stage of it, but there still needs to be a trial on humans to make sure our bodies, react appropriately to the vaccine. But I don't foresee this vaccine happening anytime right now. And there's a high chance that we'll still go into the rest of the year without a vaccine. This is going to be our new norm right now from probably the next 2 years. I don't see us at some point. We're all going to get COVID at some point. It's just when and how. But while we're waiting on the when and the how, because it's like a flu, at some point, our bodies are going to know, it's going to adapt to our environment in such a way, just how the flu comes and adapt. You know how when the flu time, there's this really bad flu and we've lost people in Jamaica from the really bad flu? That's how COVID is going to be for us. It's going to be, it's almost like we're going to say it's flu and COVID season, if you understand what I'm saying. So at some point, we might all going to really catch it. It's just we now need to put things in place to protect ourselves and our families, especially our vulnerable groups. Remember our pregnant mothers. Remember the babies and the children. Remember our older folks. And don't only think about not taking this virus home or not being able to see them. Please call each other, even on set, even your crew members. Call people who might not be as mentally strong as you are. Sometimes they don't need a long conversation. It's, hi, how are you doing today? I know things are tough, but I'm just checking in to see, if you're okay or if there's anything I can do to help. We don't need to be rich to help each other. If you have one bread, you could cut that bread in half and share with someone else. You'd be surprised to know that tomorrow somebody's going to bring two finger banana to give you. You know what I mean? So let's just be mindful of these other things. Share with each other, check up on each other, and use best practices. There's information on the internet. I'm available. This that I just gave you was just a general run over as to, what you can do, because if we're to really go in depth, it's going to take longer. But if at any point people need additional information, there are ways to reach me. You can get that information from Anna. And I'm available at any point. I will help you guys as much as I can. I'm willing to do whatever I can to make sure that you guys stay safe. My film family know that they're my second family, so I'll make sure that they're fine.
Thank you so much, Anna Kay. I really appreciate it. And we really want you to stay safe as well, especially as you're on the front lines.
I will.
Please take good care of yourself.
I will. I'm dying under those face shield and stuff that I have to wear all the time. And that's why I'm saying I know how people are going to feel after. I'm telling you, when I get to work, after an hour, because I'm a nurse manager where I'm at now, and after an hour, I have to tell people to take a break, because you literally, if we have on the N95 along with this over it. So we have on 2 masks, we have on a face shield, and then we have on a gown over our uniforms with gloves and shoes covers. You guys don't need shoes covers because of the nature of your job, but we use shoes covers because we're on a COVID unit. But at the same time, I'm telling you, after an hour, you feel like you're going to pass out. And I'm in New York where it's not so hot right now where I'm at. All the way up in Albany, it's not so hot right now. But I don't want to even imagine Jamaica with all of that stuff. So just be mindful of each other. If you see another crew member moving the mask, he or she needs a break. Just stay away. Give them that social distancing and say, hey, buddy, I see you. Just, they're taking a break. Give them a couple minutes. Let them get some time to breathe. But don't be like, come, guys, come. I know we're strapped for time and stuff, but still be mindful that everything has changed. This is not our regular normal or what it used to be. This is our new normal, and we have to help each other to adjust and adjust in a respectful manner. But at the same time, we need to be safe.
Good words, good advice. Thank you again, Anna Kay.
You're welcome.
I'm going to segue to the next section of the program, of the meeting, so I hope you'll be able to stay a little. But if not, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. And remember, everyone, again, as has been the theme throughout, support each other, as Anna Kay reemphasized again, adhere to the best practices, and remember that protecting your mental health is just as important as protecting your physical health. All right, so we are going to move on to Black Girl in the Ring, which is a short film project written and produced by Saeed Thomas with the attached director Joshua Paul. Recently, earlier this year in February, thankfully before COVID hit, Josh and Saeed attended the Claremont International Film Festival, the first Jamaican project to be pitched at Euro Connection. So yay, guys. So they pitched a project called Black Girl in the Ring, and they're going to share with us what that experience was like, and what the outcome of that pitch was. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully, Saeed, you'll get to share some of your screen. I think you have a video of how that pitch went. So if you guys can just open up your videos. Josh, are you here? Okay. All right, let's unmute Josh and Saeed.
Hey Anna.
Hey.
Everyone.
Bonsoir. Comment ça va?
Bonsoir. Ça va bien et toi?
That's the extent of it, Josh. Sorry.
How are you doing?
Show. I'm good. We're good. Thanks for coming on board. Saeed, you have sound too, Mr. Soundman?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Congrats again for representing JA and your projects on that international field. So I know we're running way behind, but it's been some very important and engaging topics, and we want to hear from you as well in terms of tell us what a little bit about Black Girl in the Ring, and share with us a bit about that experience at Euro Connection.
I think Saeed should definitely take it away, as a writer.
Okay. Well, Black Girl in the Ring is actually a short that I wrote. I wrote it for Propeller 2 years ago, and I got into the top 10. Unfortunately, I didn't get into the top 5 at the time, and I just continued to learn and develop the script. And then the opportunity came last year for me to submit the script, which I did. But what it is about is it's a period piece set in the 18th century. Is an adaptation of Nanny of the Maroons, and basically Nanny plays the ring game Brown Girl in the Ring, and she isn't accepted, and it leads to her being on the plantation and experiencing that system and escaping the plantation and becoming a Maroon. So it's a coming of age of Nanny, essentially. What was the other question, Anna?
Well, I was asking you guys to share what was the experience like, because it was two things. You were part of the overall event was Euro Connection, but coming out of um, the talks we had with them last year, they created, not just with JAFTA, but with some other international organizations or associations. I think it's called the Petite Fabrique.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like geared specifically towards non-European content, because it was actually, for everyone's benefit, it was actually the first time they were hearing pitches from filmmakers outside of Europe, you know.
Yeah.
Euro connection.
Yeah. So what it is that every year they have the Euro connection, where, as Anna said, they have filmmakers from Europe that are able to pitch and meet other co-producers. And co-production is a big thing in Europe because they get to access each other's grants and each other's fundings. So this year they kind of tried it out on non-European filmmakers, and it was pretty diverse. It was us from Jamaica, there was a group from Lebanon, a group from Hawaii, and a group from Belgium / Sierra Leone, I think. And it was really interesting in that we were well received, and I guess just to explain what happened when we reached. So we arrived, and it was very nerve-wracking for both Josh and I. I guess Josh can also explain. I think we overthought the pitching process because we went hard. I was about like the big PowerPoints and coming in with lights and the whole production value of it. And then Josh was like, yo, we have to shoot something. We have to shoot like a little screener going in because the competition is going to be stiff. And then when we arrived now, essentially when we did the practice pitch, we realized that we were the only ones that went that hard. And it had its benefits, but it's still, I mean, they liked our energy and charisma, but the French are a little bit traditional in how they view film and filmmaking. So they don't really like the fanfare. They want to hear your story, and they want to hear what it really is about, and they want to feel that personal connection with the character. So we kind of had to take it back a notch, and we reviewed it, and then we went and we pitched the following day. I don't know if Josh wants to say anything.
Yeah, just touching up on what Said is saying, it's like the way how we had essentially like prepared like a whole pitch deck for like a Netflix discussion with budget and so on, and kind of we prepared a bit too much. So, you know, the French and Europe on a whole, they're much more like focused on the story and the artistic treatment of like, you know, whatever thematics we're focusing on. And that was just it. It's like we had to redesign, we had to rethink our approach, work out a different flex as to how we're gonna, you know, impress these guys. And yeah, when we went up and spoke, I think a big thing about pitching as well is kind of it's all about engagement. You know, it's like you're trying to engage the people in the room, especially if you're not estranged, but if it's a different culture or different group of people altogether. And yeah, I can definitely say that Said and I, we did our best to engage them. I tried to practice a bit of French, and you know, that was a plus. But apart from that, we just spoke the story, and we spoke what inspired the story and why it's a story that should be told, you know. And I think that definitely worked in our favor. So it was definitely a great experience.
Yeah.
No, continue, Said.
Yeah, so originally the pitch had like what inspired the story, a little bit about the story, the benefits of shooting in Jamaica, who has shot in Jamaica. So we touched on other films that were done previously and recently, such as Top Boy and James Bond and Marvel. And just a heads up, those are like bad words in France. Do not go to France and talk about Top Boy and James Bond. as I said, they're a little bit more traditional in how they view film. So then as Josh said, we kind of focused more on the story itself. What inspired us writing it? Why is it important for the story to be told? And it was just much more heartfelt, and I think they appreciated that more. I see Kevin saying we should have said Flight. I mean, we could have, but Flight was in HBO, so I don't know if they would have. Yeah. So after we pitched, we got. So how the process works is that you pitch, and then co-producers ask to meet with you. So after we pitched, around 8 co-producers had asked to meet with us. And from what I heard, we had the most meeting requests. So I think we really made a positive impact. So then we met all of them the following day, and essentially what it is a co-production opportunity with French producers. They have funding for film, and their funding comes in mostly 3 aspects. They have their TV, which funds their films, a grant called CNC, and something called the regional funding. TV gives like €1,000 per minute. CNC gives up to 70,000 euros, and regional funding, I think, gives up to 30,000 euros. But the issue with regional funding is that you have to shoot a part of it in France. So basically, most of them were saying the same thing in terms of our meetings. It was just, I guess, who we felt a good vibe from, and who. Yeah, that's really the energy between each person. I don't know, Josh.
Yeah. I think out of our entire trip, that aspect was extremely stressful. We were the group that was like privy to meeting most of the producers out of like all the groups that had pitched. We had like the best, and they just came with the next day. We were in a room for like a good while, just kind of going through meeting these different producers back and forth, and everyone we're saying around the same thing, that it's like there's specific the type of grants that the funding that side had mentioned before, and essentially it was more of us just kind of feeling out the energy, but also kind of just like seeing how well they respond towards like working alongside Jamaicans, and that just the difference in cultures and so forth. And yeah, overall it was a taxing day, but it was definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, well, after you guys finished, Laurent, the organizer for it, he emailed us and he's like, your team from Jamaica is booked out. Like, they couldn't fill up the card fast enough. You guys just had back-to-back meetings. So,
yeah,
clearly you made a great impact. I was actually going to ask you guys if you have the video on any of your devices that you could just share. I know you did clips of your pitch. It's on your IG page.
Yeah, it's on my IG page, so if anyone wants to see it. I don't have it on my machine right now. No, it's not on my machine right now, Anna. So if anyone wants, we did like a little recap video, which is on my IG page. It's the first post on my IG page. So
yeah, from the little I saw.
Hold on,
Oh, you found it?
I'm gonna try to open it from.
Okay. But in the meantime, so what's next for Black Girl in the Ring? It's now developing the script. It's now discussions with potential co-producers. What's next?
Yeah. So what's next? So from the meetings, I well, I think between Josh and I, we discussed who we got the best feelings from, and we reached out to 3 people. One of them didn't really respond. The other 2 were very, very, very eager. And I stayed back to go to what's the Belgium? I said, but not Belgium,
Berlin.
German. Sorry,
Berlin.
Berlin. I said about to go to Berlin Alley. So I met one of them in Berlin Alley, and he was very excited. So since I've been back in Jamaica, they've given me feedback on my script. So we're still in a little bit of script development. And I've gotten 2 contracts for co-producing, or 2, but is that the right term? 2 co-production contracts. So now we're in the legal phase of just trying to sort out and organize the rights, and I guess the best contract for me or for us to choose who do we want to go forward with.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm surprised you came back, Josh. Your feedback was that you love France so much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just being there I think what I love particularly about that trip was it was Clermont-Ferrand, the film festival, and being in a space of, just film creatives that all have similar goals and, similar ideas and dreams and whatnot, and meeting so many different creatives from all over. It's always like that in particular was really good. And the French language, it amuses me. I'm actually practicing that as well. It's as I say, it's like just the whole moment there was really nice.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys got a very rounded experience, not just from the creative, but also from the business perspective, because I guess going forward, you will actually get more practical experience as you go through these co-production discussions and agreements of, these kind of real world things to take your projects from script to screen. And of course, as you pointed out to persons here, you also have to, again, which also touches on what Kurt mentioned in relation to distribution, that in relation to pitching, you also have to kind of tailor it to who you're pitching to. So the French, they're more interested in story and less about, local tax incentive laws and budgets, all the budget things. Whereas if you go to a North American market, maybe that's something they're interested in story, but maybe they're also interested in other things. So again, you have to kind of research who you're putting your project forward to get an idea and kind of tailor accordingly. So Saeed's not going to leave me hanging because he knows now I'm going to go, okay, over to you for the pitch, Saeed.
I'm trying to share my screen, but I think you have to allow me to.
Okay, Kyle, can you allow Saeed to share the screen? Try now.
No.
Are there plans to put this in place for a feature? Or right now we're just short film?
Well, I think it definitely has the potential to be a feature or a series. So I wouldn't say no, but I guess the focus now is just to get this done.
Okay. They say you're good to go.
Okay.
Shout out again to not just our Zoom participants, but everybody watching us and the meeting on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and IG Live, all courtesy of UECFP TV, manned by one of our directors, Kyle Eitel. Thank you very much for making this possible. And I will continue to banter until Saeed's screen comes up.
I think, well, technical difficulties. I have to quit Zoom and come back in because I have to give my machine preference permission.
All right. Well, I think it's fine, guys. You can go on Saeed's Instagram page. It's at Saeed Ojo. It's, as you said, it's the first post there. It gives snippets of what they experienced at Clermont-Ferrand, snippets of Josh and C doing their thing with the French, showing them $9,500 bill and all these different things. So it was a good balance seeing you two pitch together. And the audience seemed to have enjoyed it, and you guys definitely, yes, Janet, enough food. Is that true?
Yeah, there, we got some. So it's a pretty cool experience because we got chits, like we got food tickets, and the entire town becomes like a festival town. So then we could go to nearly any restaurant and just hand them the food tickets. It was awesome. Yeah.
Took good care of you. So yes, everyone wishes you continued success with this project. JAFTA is continuing its talks with Clermont-Ferrand. It's actually a collaboration that we want to repeat in the coming year. Obviously now subject to what's happening with COVID, but they were very impressed by the quality of what they saw coming out of non-Europe countries this year, and they want to continue the collaboration with JAFTA and otherwise. So person, please continue to work on your short film scripts. They're interested in unique and diverse voices coming out of Jamaica and elsewhere. They're interested in teams that are looking for development, because even though it's a business forum, they want filmmakers that they can also help to develop and kind of take to the next level, and who can learn from the experience and grow with their co-production partners. So you can bear that in mind for 2021 or whenever next this comes on stream. So until then, thank you, Saeed and Josh, for joining us. Oh, and congratulations again on your project, Sugar Cake, being in the top 4 of JAFTA Propeller. I look forward to seeing that as well. And thank you everyone for taking the time to join us on the various live stream platforms. Thank you again to UECFP TV for facilitating us, and tune in next month as we come with some other new industry topics, and look forward to sharing and supporting. All right, everyone, take care. All right, Cal, you can use the outro music now.